Welcome to the Retire with Peace podcast, the podcast where we help you create a fulfilling and stress-free retirement. Each week, we bring you expert advice, practical tips, and inspiring stories to help you plan and live your best retirement life. Whether you're nearing retirement or already enjoying your golden years, this podcast is here to support you every step of the way. Let's embark on this journey together and discover how to retire with peace.
Welcome back to the Retire with Peace podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dave Zegel. And let's talk a little bit about AI. Now, I get a lot of questions about these, which is surprising, but I get a lot of questions about artificial intelligence. Now, they're often difficult questions to answer because it's also a little bit challenging to define what people mean when they talk about AI. Because there's companies that say they're an AI platform and maybe they have some light artificial intelligence in there. Sometimes we think of artificial intelligence in terms of a large language model. In 2025, now we're focused more on AI reasoning and looking forward to robotics and things like that. So it's always an interesting question when I hear people ask about, well, what is AI going to do to financial planning? I also do a lot in the tax world, so people will ask what I think it'll happen with taxes. It's always a little dangerous to throw out forecasts because this is still relatively new in terms of what artificial intelligence can do. And I think we're going to see a tremendous amount of development in future years and future decades. And this is, it won't be, I can't say it'll be a completely different world, but it's going to be pretty different. I mean, for those of us, if you're planning for retirement, you will know this. It's a very different world having the internet versus before we had the internet. So if you can imagine that difference between internet and no internet and probably multiply that by several factors, I think that's what artificial intelligence is going to do to really shape our lives and how we operate. So to bring this back to financial planning and even in some sense, tax returns and tax planning, I often get asked, is AI going to replace what you do? The answer is partially, sure. I hope so, actually. I actually think that AI is going to be a tremendously helpful tool. Where I think it will fall short is in understanding the human dynamic. And that's not a perfect way to say it, because I think that artificial intelligence will understand it, but not have experienced it. And that's a big difference. Artificial intelligence cannot experience the birth of a child, the death of a family member, weddings, sending kids off to college, raising kids, transitioning from work into retirement, all the major things that happen in human lives. Artificial intelligence may be able to understand it, but I don't know that it'll ever get to a point where it will truly feel it in a relational capacity. Now, how in the world does that impact financial planning? Well, it actually impacts it a lot. So, for example, I would not at all be surprised if several years from now, maybe even sooner, who knows, when I need to run a tax projection for a client, instead of me or somebody on the staff putting in the information, it would not surprise me at all if we were able to already put in the information, the tax data, and say, hey, tell the system, we're trying to run projections for these things. Can you give me details on these scenarios and how they would interplay with each other? And in a matter of seconds, it'll say, boom, here's what you're looking for. And I may even be able to ask it to interpret some of these things and give recommendations or pros and cons. And in some cases, it can actually do that now, but it's not quite advanced enough yet to process all the data and run all the projections right now. But at some point in the not too distant future, it's probably going to be able to do all that, which I think is great. Now, that doesn't necessarily fully replace a planner because you have to be able to take that and tie it back into meeting with somebody who's in retirement, talking about these things, talking about what else might happen in their lives, and putting the human interpretation around it. So, do I think that AI will replace financial planners? Do I think it will fully replace accountants? Not really. I think it'll do a lot of what they already do, so it might make things more efficient. I think it can certainly help with staffing shortages. For example, accountants are experiencing a huge shortage in staffing right now. So, cannot wait for AI, especially on things like tax return prep, just basic functions, which will probably be coming before all the tax planning stuff that I talked about. There will be very good and helpful uses for this artificial intelligence. I don't think it's going to fully 100% replace the human element, the human interaction. It's more going to be there to be a gigantic help for all of those involved. So I think AI is going to be fantastic. It's probably going to do things that we cannot imagine and change the world in ways that we cannot imagine. Probably both good and bad, just like the internet. The internet's awesome, but for those of us that grew up without it, there's times we wish it didn't exist. So, but most of the time we're happy with it. It provides a ton of value. And I think artificial intelligence will probably be very similar in that we'll be talking about, man, it was nice when we didn't have AI, but it does all these awesome things. So when we talk about retirement planning, I think it's going to be extremely helpful for everybody involved in the retirement planning process in terms of the capabilities it has to help us with planning, to help provide maybe even quicker planning, and also look at scenarios and really be essentially a second set of eyes if you're doing it on your own or if you're working with a planner. And really, where that planner is going to come into play is then being able to understand all of that and work with the artificial intelligence to help deliver that to the client. And that's going to be really, really important, really, really helpful. So I have a very positive view on artificial intelligence. So when people ask me about it, I think, yeah, this is awesome. Is it also scary? Is it also risky? Of course, no doubt. Pretty much every change and every technological advancement is. This change is on a scale that we have not seen before. So we'll see how it goes. There's a lot to it. But to answer the question specifically on, do I think that artificial intelligence will replace people like financial planners, accountants, engineers, lawyers? No, I don't think it will fully replace them. We might not need as many of them because of the efficiency gains, perhaps. But do I think that it's going to wipe out a whole industry? No, I do not, because there's still a human element involved that will be needed, where as amazing as these artificial intelligence tools will be, humans still need humans. So that's a very positive backdrop to say awesome things are probably coming. Do we need to worry about, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose human planners and only be able to work with AI? No, I don't think so. I think AI will be there as an option, but human planners will still be around. Human accountants, human engineers, they're still going to be there, still going strong. Hopefully they will learn to use the artificial intelligence well to help people even more. But that is my view on the future of artificial intelligence. When people ask me specifically around financial planning, I think it's going to be a really awesome tool and one that's going to benefit everybody in the long run. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. I really appreciate your support and hope you found value in the conversation. If you enjoyed it, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit from it. Your feedback helps keep the show growing. Until next time, take care and stay strong as we learn